Want to get cheat sheets, audiobooks, lessons, apps, and much more every month for free? Just click the link in the description to get your free language gifts of the month.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alisha, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. Okay, let's get to your first question this week. First question this week comes from Desamis Wilgens. Hello, Desamis. Desamis says, Hi Alisha, I'd like to know the difference between important for and important to. Okay, nice question. Let's begin with two examples. Passing this test is important for me. Passing this test is important to me. So what is the difference here? The difference is that when we use for, we're often talking about some kind of expectation of value. In this case, a test. So the expectation of value comes from somewhere outside us, society, or like our boss, our parents, our coworkers, management, whatever. There's some kind of value for that thing that we're talking about, and thus we want to express that. Like someone said this would be good for me, or I'm going to get some benefit from this thing. So we use for in that case, as in the first example here. Passing this test is important for me. I'm going to get some benefit. It's going to be valuable for me. When we use to, however, it's more like we're sharing our personal opinion, like there's some kind of maybe emotional attachment, or we personally feel that it's important to us, yes, but maybe there's not like value coming from someone else in our life. Maybe there's not like a societal value there. So passing this test is important to me expresses more of like a personal opinion. We can see something like this in perhaps clearer ways in other example sentences. Like, this shirt is really important to me. My grandmother gave it to me. Or, this restaurant is really important to me. I met my best friend here. So in these example sentences, there's no like societal value on this shirt or on this restaurant, but the speaker has a strong connection to that object or to that place because of some like past experience. So the speaker uses to there. We do not use for in that situation because there's not like a societal value attached to that thing. Some other examples that use for. This promotion is really important for me. I'm making progress in my company. This project is really important for you. You should give your best effort. So in these kinds of situations, we use for to show that there's some other value outside of a person's like individual opinion. So when you want to show that something is important to you personally, use important to. When you want to show that there's like a societal value, or maybe someone is telling you that this thing is important, you can use for to do that. I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Vadim. Hi, Vadim. Vadim says, Hi, Alisha. I have a question about prepositions of place. When I speak about my country, I say, I live in Belarus. But if I ask you, I must say, have you ever been to Belarus? Why is it so? And is it possible to ask, have you ever been in country? Thanks. Nice question. Yeah, we use to here because when we're talking about travel and asking questions about travel, we're talking about movement. And so we use to show the direction of movement. When we're talking about the places where we live, we're not talking about movement. We remain in a place. So no, we can't use have you ever been in country. You could use it with like a season maybe or a specific time of year to visit a country, but you can't say have you ever been in Spain because you're talking about movement, you're talking about travel. So this is the reason why you don't need to use it when you talk about the place where you live. So when you're talking about like places where you've moved, like a place where you lived and then you changed residence or you changed house, you need to switch between prepositions. For example, I moved to Canada in 2014. I lived in Toronto for a few years. Then I moved to England. I lived in London for a while. So we need to change our prepositions depending on the verbs we're using. So no, we cannot use in when we're talking about travel. We use in to talk about our residence only. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Thibaud. Hi, Thibaud. Thibaud says, Hi, Alisha. I'm not very fluent, and my question is, do you speak more slowly than usual in your videos, or do you use your normal speaking speed? Yes, good question. I do speak a bit slower in these videos, not so slow, but my speaking is very different on this channel, and I don't really speak in the same way that I do in everyday life. So I'm using easier or less challenging grammar patterns, so I'm not using super complex grammar. I'm using very few idioms, if any at all, and I'm trying to use vocabulary that is kind of good for learners. So I'm trying not to use words that are very complex or that require a lot of extra knowledge. So yes, the way that I speak on this channel is quite different from the way that I speak in everyday life. I'm also trying to speak very clearly. So that's why when lots of people say I can understand you, but I can't understand people on TV, that's because of the way that I speak and the way many other teachers speak on YouTube. We're speaking in a way specifically designed to help people understand and to move up in their language learning. So yes, I am speaking a bit more slowly. If you want to hear examples, though, of what a little bit more natural conversation sounds like, you can check out the English topic series that we have on our channel. I've had some conversations with Michael and with Davey there, and we've talked about a few different parts of culture in the US, or we've talked a bit about language learning too. So that sounds a little bit more like a natural conversation. Again, we are making videos for people who are learning English, so it's not exactly natural, and we are speaking slowly, but that's a little bit more like what you might see in everyday life. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Ruben. Hi again, Ruben. Ruben says, what is the difference between won't and wouldn't? For example, our suitcases won't close. There are too many clothes. What does won't mean in this sentence? Yeah, good question. So won't is the reduced form of will not. So will not becomes won't. We use this won't when we're talking about something that's not performing as expected, or there's some kind of problem with its abilities. So we don't use don't or doesn't. Those are present tense things. We use those in simple present tense situations. The reason that we use will not or won't is because we're kind of imagining a future situation. So let's imagine in your example sentence, we need to pack our suitcases for travel somewhere. There's a lot of stuff in the suitcase. We try once to close the suitcase and we fail. We're like, oh no, I can't close my suitcase. So when we imagine again, we're looking at the suitcase again, we imagine, I already know that suitcase will not close in the future, and I want to report that to someone, I would say, the suitcase won't close. So I'm already imagining future me in the future, if I try, it will not work. That's kind of the thought process here. So my suitcase won't close, or our suitcases won't close. That's the reason that we use that will not pattern. Wouldn't comes into play when we're talking about this situation in the past. So maybe I want to describe this happening, but I want to talk about it in the past. Last week I was packing my suitcase, but my suitcase wouldn't close. So that means that's a past situation. Now, in the present, I would use won't. My suitcase won't close. So another very common example of something like this is with computers. My computer won't send this email. There's no internet connection. So it's I tried and I failed, and I'm reporting this to someone else because I think if I try again, it's going to fail again. So this is kind of the thinking behind using won't here. So again, we don't use doesn't or don't. We use those for simple present tense statements for things relating to features or abilities. So for example, my computer doesn't have a 4K camera, or my computer doesn't record security footage. So those are simple present tense statements about facts, things that are always true. we're using this won't pattern for something that's like failing now. It's specific to the situation. So this is the reason that we use this won't, and in past tense, wouldn't in cases like these. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Amit Aslan. Hi, Amit. Amit says, what does see eye to eye mean? To see eye to eye means to be able to understand someone or to be able to have an agreement with someone. For example, my manager and I don't see eye to eye. Or, I'm so glad we see eye to eye about this issue. So that means I'm glad that we can understand each other. In the first example sentence where someone and their manager don't see eye to eye, it means they have trouble understanding each other or they have trouble agreeing with each other. So to see eye to eye means to agree or to understand someone else. I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, that is everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at EnglishClass101.com/ask-Alisha. Of course, if you liked this week's video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's lesson, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.